some Sundays I don't do mini slides, and some Sundays I do a lot. Of course, what's this Sunday?
A lot.
But we're not going to look at those slides. But what we're going to talk about today is really just how do we tune to that frequency that matters. That frequency, that resonance that we all are. That how do we, like a radio dial, how do we tune in to that frequency so that we can live as that place, from that place?
Wow.
I continue to run into people that ask me about how the tornado affected me, right? And they all have a story to tell, and they tell me their stories. Unsolicited. Everyone tells you their stories. And they share in it their pain and their heartache. In there's a lot of fear. Fear of what took place, but also fear of what is to come in their lives, and their friends, and their families' lives. You probably have those stories too. Because we all have been affected. Whether we think we've been affected or not, we've been touched by this storm, because we're part of a community. This community of Unity of Little Rock, but also this greater community that we're part of in the city. And what takes place in the city, we can't escape. Now, I drove past Shackelford, and I can't describe that other than a war zone. And I know many of you can appreciate that. And I could just see the devastation, and I could feel the heaviness and the sorrow that was in me. When I looked over at my wife, Kim, she had a tear running down her face. She was feeling it and experiencing it too. Even though she and I weren't directly affected by the storm in any way at our home, on our property. But we were still touched, because we're all still connected to this experience. If you look out here at our beautiful grounds, it's got very green. And it wasn't too long ago that the trees were dropping their leaves, and it looked very brown, very barren. It looked like there was no life taking place out in nature. But that first little sprout popped up, and those leaves came out, it started to green up, and it started to blossom. Well, as in nature, as in our lives, because we all have storms in our lives, and those storms disrupt is an understatement. Disrupt what takes place for us in our life. But even though it seemingly is dark, there's a green that comes out. And if we give it a little time, give it a little nurturing, those blossoms come forth in our life. And that's true for those people that have been affected by the tornadoes, but that's true for us too. It's those that are a part of this community. There's an author who writes, his name is Anthony St. Martin. He writes, "You are only one thing. You are a divine being, an all-powerful creator. You are a deity in jeans and a t-shirt. And within you dwells the infinite wisdom of the ages and the sacred creative force of all that is, will be, and ever was." Well, you are a deity in t-shirts and jeans. But it's not enough to know that. We have to tune into that. We have to tune into that resonance and that frequency of our divine nature. And we have to live as that. Not just to know it, but to be it. To have that experience and expression of it. Charles Fillmore, our co-founder of the Unity Movement, writes that man knows intuitively, y'all know Charles Fillmore and the era he wrote all in the masculine. Everything's about he and him, so forgive me, but this is how he wrote it. Man knows intuitively that he is God's supreme creation and that dominion and power are his, though he does not understand fully. The I am of him ever recognizes the one divine source from which he sprang, and he turns to it, endeavoring to fathom its wonderful secrets. You know, deep within, we know we're divine. And it's those moments in our storm that we forget that, right? That we forget we're divine. But within us, that divine is always taking place. It's always rising within us. That resonance and frequency is always a part of our life. And as a resonance, that's a vibration, it's always in motion. There's always an energy with it. So within us, that frequency isn't dormant. It isn't inactive, meaning that it's in hibernation. It's always there in this perpetual motion. But we sometimes think that we're not deserving of that. We think that we're not good enough, we're not bright enough, we're not right enough, there's something flawed, there's something wrong about us, there's always something that's not quite right about us. And we think that we're this wonderful green frog in life, don't we? Not always, but there are those moments, those times, if not those periods of our life, that we think that we are a green frog and we're unlovable and nobody cares about us and that we are alone, isolated. But if you look at this fella, look how lovable this fella is. Don't you want to just go over and hug him or her, as the case may be? We're all that same lovable, divine self. And it doesn't matter what the external is, we're all still lovable. And it doesn't matter whether we call in our storms of life or we recognize the frequency we are, we're still that lovable self. You know, being a deity in t-shirts and jeans, and we move forth in the world, and we move forth in a way that we take that resonance and vibration out. Because we can't do anything else. Because to me, that's the comical side of us claiming that we're searching for something is we are that something. We are that frequency that we're looking for. We've always been that frequency. Yet, we want to discover that frequency and live as that frequency. You know, there's a great story. It's a simple story, but to me it's a great story. And it's a story in the book of Exodus, and it's about Moses. And Moses is tending the flock of his father-in-law, Jethro. And he's out in the wilderness. I guess we would have to recognize that where Moses was strolling wasn't Arkansas. And you had to wander in the wilderness to find enough to eat and drink and to care for these sheep, to care for the flock. So Moses is out in the wilderness with his flock, and he comes upon Horeb. Horeb is called the mountain of God. And there, an angel of the Lord comes down and in the form of a flame reveals himself in a tree. And Moses sees this. He sees this flame and recognizes this flame is burning, but this tree isn't being consumed. And Moses says, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why this bush is not burned. And God saw that Moses had turned aside and called out to him saying, Moses! Moses! Because metaphysically, this angel is our divine self, our divine intelligence. So the angel and the tree and the flame are all really that consciousness that's dwelling within us. It's there already. But that bush is like this wonderful nerve center. And all this wonderful electrical current is flowing through this nerve center to turn on this light, to reveal this light, but nothing is consumed by this light, by this flame. And this is us. We're letting that electrical current ignite the light that we are, knowing that nothing is consumed, it's just revealing for us. This is from Alan Watts. Alan's an author that writes that Jesus Christ knew he was God. He woke up, so wake up and find out who you really are. In our culture, of course, they'll say you're crazy. However, if you wake up in India and tell your friends and relations, my goodness, I've just discovered that I'm God, they'll laugh and say, well, congratulations. At last you found out. Because we, sometimes in our culture, forget that divine self, but other cultures aren't quite so separated from us, from that as we are. So, these burning bushes, these attention getters in our life, these places where our divine self is speaking to us, where are those burning bushes in your life? Where are those places that you recognize the divine, that you know the divine is speaking to you? Where are those?
Are you asking?
I'm asking.
Well, I got a place. It's called the Blue Couch.
The Blue Couch. And does the Blue Couch talk to you? What happens on the Blue Couch?
No, what happens? I get my downloads there often.
And your downloads, how do they come to you, Jeannie? Do you hear words? Do you have thoughts? Is it colors? What happens?
I guess for me it is words, but I don't know what voice it is, and it's I don't think it's out loud, but it's cool, it's pretty clear, and as you just sit there and relax. And of course, there are times on the Blue Couch, y'all, where I'm out, just completely out, drop the mic out. But a lot of times, yeah, it's just real clear what comes in. Yeah.
So where else? Where are those burning bushes? Where are those places that divine is revealed to you?
Well, anytime I go out in the yard and look at everything that is growing out there, and watching my cat,
Oh, yeah.
just nature. When the girls come for art class, I see it in every one of them.
So you see it in the people?
Absolutely.
You see it in your pets, in the animals? And when you go out into the yard and see it growing, what are you seeing?
I'm seeing the divine in action.
Okay. You're seeing the beauty and the power and the persistence that's taking place out there in that nature. Okay? Others?
You know where my burning bush is? Top of Pinnacle Mountain. To me, that is a communal, meditative every time I go. And if I go for too long and don't go, it's like I gotta go get plugged in. There's something, I think it's the cords, Chris. I think you're right, that energetic, and because I got cords all around my house, and I love that mountain, and that's where I go out there, and I get clarity, I get strength, I get my enthusiasm. It's for that big chunk of rock.
I was just talking with my friend the other day, and we were talking about how we used to go up to Pinnacle Mountain. This was in the 90s, and that's what we would do, but we didn't even know that's what we were doing. I realize that now. But every Sunday, no matter what, we climbed the top of Pinnacle. One time, it was kind of late, or I just got out of the hospital, and so we went up to the top, and then we all look around, and we're like, this is so nice. I'm like, oh no, it's starting to get dark, we better get back down. This is before cell phones, before anything. So here we are, they're like, Pam, lead the way, you're the one who was in the military. And so we went around the thing, and how we made it down, it was mostly by one of the girls knowing the trail so much that she goes, let me take over, I know where we're at. I can close my eyes and get us out of here. And I was like,
Oh, I love that.
but yeah, that was the joy we felt, and we didn't even realize what it was.
So you're sharing with me that many of us have those experiences where we recognize the divine. And we recognize in some ways that we feel the divine is calling out to us, speaking to us. So why don't we have more of that? Why is it only sometimes? Why does it seem infrequent? Y'all have a guess for that?
We just don't pay attention.
We don't pay attention. We're distracted elsewhere.
Yeah, wow, yeah.
We're caught up in our storms of life and have our attention elsewhere. So if we bring ourselves back to that frequency that we are, we tune into that frequency, you on your blue couch, when you sit down, what I heard there was that's where you are and you're not anywhere else. You're not focused elsewhere. You're not focused on the storms. You're not distracted elsewhere. And in that place, then that which you already are just becomes easier to recognize, to experience. I know whether that's in nature, whether that's with our loved ones, human or animal, whether that's out in nature. All those places give us a way of not being filled with the distractions that are our life. So we calm and settle where our focus is, where our intention is, where our concentration is. So, how do you get that divine within you to speak to you more? How do you tune more into that frequency?
I think of mindfulness, and even in action, if you are mindfully just in that moment, like I'm washing dishes, you know, but doing it mindfully, or walking, or...
And being mindful is doing what, Jeannie?
It's, well, letting go of distraction and just being really present.
Right. There's one thing going on for you when you're being mindful.
One pointedness.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not trying to juggle my 42 things in this experience.
Yeah.
I've got one thing.
I don't know, have you ever worked in a tax office? I've seen some stuff I've never seen before.
That might be some stories we don't want to hear.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, goodness. So, do you have an idea of what your distractions are?
Oh, Lord, yes.
Phone, okay.
TV.
Phone, TV,
Worry.
worrying about anything, just worry.
Well, really our thoughts, you know, we just, you know, oh, I should do this. Oh, I hadn't attended to that. You know, we just allow a lot of chatter in our head.
So the chatter, the incessant chatter that we have in our heads. Yeah. So what can you do about that?
I love this thought of tuning in, but it's sort of like you had us breathe a moment ago. We took a breath. We paused.
So pausing, not just doing and going, but pausing, slowing down. Maybe stopping, sitting on our own blue couch, whether that's standing in the middle of traffic or sitting in the middle of traffic for that 3 seconds that we sit on our blue couch in that moment.
Sometimes you just have to tell it to stop.
Tell it to
Just tell your
stop.
mind, just stop thinking about that, just, if it's chatter going through your head.
In meditation, we would say, I believe it's Vipassana meditation, that you don't need to tell those to stop. You can, but you can just let them drift on by. And you just watch them like clouds floating past. Okay, I see you out there. I hear you. But I'm not grabbing you and pulling you in and making now all my attention those things that are in those clouds and those thoughts. So why don't we tune into that frequency more today? And why don't we do that by, in some ways, the way we started, or I started, that is, just take a breath and settle in. Just feeling your body relax. Allowing the tension from your hands, from your shoulders, from your tummy, your legs. Just let all that ease away. And now in your mind's eye, I want to see yourself. You're sitting down in that blue couch. You're settling in at ease, in comfort, relaxing. And the only thing that you're focused on is the ease and the comfort of that blue couch. How good it feels. How comfortable and comforting it is. And as we continue to breathe, as we breathe in and breathe out, we have an expectation here. An expectation that we are a deity and teacher in genes. And that our divine nature speaks to us. Not as something separate, distant, far away, but in us, as us. So as you rest in this wonderful, comforting space, you set another expectation. Reveal to me, speak to me, show me. Knowing that you're talking about that true frequency that we all are, that divine self. And ask here, reveal to me a signal, an awareness that lets me know that I am touching that resonance, touching that frequency, that I am connected. And maybe that revealing, that signal comes as a color, comes as a tone, comes as a feeling, comes as a sensation. So maybe your hands tingle. This one note seems to sound for you. There's an image that presents itself. And it's okay that that doesn't seem strong, clear at the moment. You're going to continue this expectation. Continue to know this will be revealed. The divine I am is calling forth. Instead of calling Moses, it's calling your name. And in that calling, the external falls away in response to that internal vibration. That frequency removes the external illusion. And just be aware here. Do you feel an angst? Are the words that somehow I'm not getting it, I'm not doing it right? Or do you feel that ease, that relaxed? And that you have this awareness. Awareness of what? Is it peace? Is it harmony? Is it gentleness? Comfort? Do you feel like there are arms wrapped around you, holding you, letting you know you are no green frog? And even if you were, it doesn't matter. You are loved because you are the love of the divine, made in the likeness and image, that likeness and image of the one true source. And what does that frequency now, what is it conveying? Whether through words, thoughts, feelings, images, sounds. And give thanks here, appreciation. Appreciation that you love yourself enough to love yourself. To be that love, to call forth to yourself, from you, your true nature, to all of you that may not know the fullness of what that means yet. But thankful for what you've received, the questions you've asked, to the awareness you've gained, or just simply knowing I can expect more. For I am that more. And know that at any time you can return to to that blue couch. Allow those distractions to drift away. And tune in to that frequency that matters most. As you're ready, I would take a good breath in and relax and blow that out. You can open your eyes as you're ready.